There comes a time in life when you enter a space and everything just feels off. You can feel it, the subtle change in atmosphere, the way individuals evade eye contact or offer those fleeting, courteous smiles that don't quite reach their eyes. It's as though you've become invisible or, even worse, an outsider. And then it dawns on you. Something about your presence is leading others to look down on you, even if no one openly acknowledges it. However, here's the reality. Most of the time, it isn't about your identity, but rather the habits you carry. Habits that may unintentionally drive people away without your awareness. I've experienced this myself, entangled in behaviors that turned me into my own worst adversary. But as the Stoics instruct, self-awareness is crucial for transformation. Today, we will explore 7 habits that could be undermining your relationships and reputation, and how Stoic philosophy can assist you in overcoming them. This journey isn't about achieving perfection, it's about making progress. And if you value what we're doing here, the simple favor I would ask of you is to click that subscribe button. Believe me, don't skip any segment of this video. You'll want to absorb the insights that might transform how others perceive you. Let's dive in. At some point, we've all been there, right? It's almost as if we're wired to share the latest gossip, to be informed about someone else's drama. It feels innocent and even enjoyable, because who doesn't want to feel connected or part of the in crowd? Yet, here's the reality. Gossip acts like a double-edged sword. Sure, you might feel a fleeting sense of camaraderie in the moment, but every time you reveal someone else's private matters, those around you are quietly questioning if you're discussing them when they're not present. What are they saying about me? This is where the real harm occurs. Gossip generates a ripple effect of mistrust. No one will confide their deeper thoughts or allow you into their personal lives if they suspect you'll spread their stories the moment they leave the room. You're constructing barriers, not connections. I once believed that gossiping made me more relatable, as if it was a method to break the ice and bond with others. Yet, all it accomplished was to alienate people. Conversations remained superficial because no one truly trusted me enough to delve deeper. Now, this is where Stoicism enters. The Stoics contend that what lies beyond our control, such as other people's lives or affairs, is simply not worth our attention. Gossiping is the exact opposite. It squanders mental energy on matters we cannot influence. Instead of becoming embroiled in others' dramas, we ought to focus on mastering ourselves, our actions, our words, and how we present ourselves to the world. When we engage in gossip, we aren't merely diminishing others, we're also devaluing ourselves. Marcus Aurelius once expressed, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." This serves as a powerful reminder that the energy we expend discussing others could be more wisely invested in enhancing ourselves. Moreover, consider this. When you engage in gossip, it's often a way to distract yourself from confronting your own shortcomings, your own challenges. It's much simpler to highlight someone else's flaws than to face your own discomfort. But that's the essence of Stoicism. It pushes you to confront your own reflection. Instead of criticizing what someone else should rectify, ask yourself, what can I improve in my own life? This single shift can be transformative. If you find yourself in a circle where gossiping appears to be the norm, it takes genuine courage to step away from it. And guess what? That's where genuine respect is earned. When you're the individual who asserts, "I refuse to speak about others in that manner," people take notice. They may not verbalize it, but they will respect you for it. You'll begin to cultivate a reputation as someone who can be relied upon, someone focused on what truly matters rather than trivial disputes. That's an empowering way to live. So the next time someone initiates gossip, remember that it's a choice. You can either jump into the discussion and diminish the trust others have in you, or you can follow the Stoic path. Remain silent and concentrate on what you can control. You might be astonished at how much more serene life becomes when you cease to concern yourself with what everyone else is doing and start striving to be the best version of yourself. Believe me, the respect you gain from this is far more fulfilling than any fleeting excitement you derive from gossip. Let's be honest, we've all engaged in it at some stage. It's that classic, "I'm fine" reply, even when you're clearly not. Or when someone requests something from you and you respond, "Sure, whatever," while internally concocting their downfall. It seems like a clever tactic to avoid confrontation, right? You're not explicitly starting a quarrel, but you're still expressing your frustrations. The issue is that passive aggression resembles trying to communicate using smoke signals during a thunderstorm. It simply doesn't work and leaves everyone perplexed and irritated. I used to believe that being passive-aggressive was a clever tactic. Why argue or be straightforward when you can just cast a little shade and make the other person feel guilty without ever voicing your true concerns? But here's the catch. No one possesses mind-reading abilities, and if they do, they're likely ignoring those passive-aggressive hints intentionally because they're exhausting. Instead of addressing the problem, you create an awkward tension where nothing gets resolved and everyone feels irritated. You feel annoyed because they didn't magically comprehend what was wrong, and they feel frustrated because you're behaving as if everything is fine when it's clearly not. Stoicism offers a clear response to this behavior. The Stoics valued transparency and direct communication, viewing it as a means of coexisting harmoniously with others. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the significance of expressing the truth as it is, without masking it with emotions. When you resort to passive aggression, you're doing the contrary. You're concealing your true feelings because you fear conflict or being vulnerable. However, here's the reality. Dodging confrontation doesn't eliminate the problem. It simply causes it to fester, and inevitably, that unexpressed bitterness will erupt in a much uglier fashion. Engaging in passive aggression is akin to emotional dodgeball. You think you're sidestepping the issue by not being direct, but in reality, you're just bombarding people with your frustrations in a way that they can't rectify. It's like setting a trap that no one is aware of, and then being upset when they don't fall into it. It's unfair to you and to those around you. The most troubling aspect is that passive aggression makes you appear difficult to engage with, perhaps even manipulative. It transforms what could be a straightforward conversation into a guessing game where no one comes out victorious. The Stoic approach here is straightforward yet powerful. Communicate clearly and directly. Yes, it can be daunting initially, especially if you're accustomed to hiding behind passive aggression to steer clear of conflict. But trust me, being upfront about your feelings saves you an immense amount of emotional energy in the long run. It's about being vulnerable, yes, but also about having the strength to say, "This is what's bothering me," without expecting someone else to decipher it for you. People appreciate honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. More importantly, you begin to respect yourself when you abandon games and engage in genuine conversations. I must admit, the first time I genuinely expressed my feelings instead of sending a sarcastic text or giving someone the cold shoulder, I felt frightened but also liberated. Instead of evading the issue, I confronted it directly. And guess what? The world didn't come crashing down. In fact, things improved. People responded with greater respect, and I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. When you're transparent about your feelings, others know where they stand with you, leading to stronger, more authentic relationships. So the next time you're tempted to send a passive-aggressive message or give someone the silent treatment, ask yourself, do I want to continue playing this game, or do I want to mature and handle this like an adult? Passive aggression keeps you trapped in a cycle of frustration and disappointment, while clear communication sets you free. Life becomes significantly easier when you stop expecting others to read your mind and instead communicate what's genuinely happening. It might feel uncomfortable initially, but trust me, the respect you gain from being straightforward is invaluable. Stoicism encourages us to confront challenges with courage and honesty, and this is one area where that wisdom can genuinely transform your life. We all recognize that individual who always has an excuse prepared. Perhaps that person is you. You know the drill. Mr. Deadline? Oh, the Wi-Fi was down. Or late to a meeting. Traffic was horrendous. Didn't finish something critical? Well, no one informed me of the due date. This constant deflection of responsibility seems, in the moment, like a strategy to shield yourself from criticism. But here's the truth. When you're perpetually shifting blame, you're inadvertently doing the opposite of what you believe. You're not sidestepping responsibility, you're evading growth. And guess what? People take notice. Here's the reality check. When you consistently shift blame, others begin to view you as untrustworthy. You become the person no one can rely on because nothing is ever your fault. And worse, you're robbing yourself of the chance to improve. Each time you sidestep taking responsibility, you miss an opportunity to learn, to become better. The Stoics held a powerful perspective on this matter. They believed that the only true control we possess is over ourselves, our actions, our reactions, our decisions. Epictetus once remarked, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that holds significance." When you blame the world around you, be it traffic, technology, or even other individuals, you're relinquishing your power. You're telling yourself, "I'm not in control of this situation." But here's the difficult truth. Accepting responsibility and admitting your mistakes is the most empowering action you can undertake. Why? Because when you acknowledge it, you can rectify it. You can alter the outcome next time. I recall a situation at work when I missed a significant deadline. My initial response was to pull out my usual assortment of excuses. Too much on my plate, didn't receive the email in time, technical difficulties, you name it. But then something clicked. I realized that none of those excuses would improve the situation. They wouldn't change the fact that I had dropped the ball. So I opted for a different approach. I approached my boss and simply stated, "I messed up. I didn't manage my time effectively. I'll improve next time." And you know what? My boss didn't explode. No one lost their composure. In fact, my boss respected me more for my honesty, and I felt a sense of relief for not hiding behind excuses. This is where Stoicism truly excels. It teaches us that accepting responsibility isn't about conceding defeat or appearing weak. It's about seizing control of our own lives. When you take responsibility for your actions, you reclaim your power. You stop allowing yourself to be a victim of circumstances and begin steering your own life. Here's the reality. No one anticipates perfection from you. People simply desire honesty and accountability. When you can look at a situation and say, "Yes, I could have handled that better," you're already on the path to growth. That's where genuine respect is cultivated, both from others and, more significantly, from yourself. One of the most challenging lessons I've learned is that excuses don't protect you. They ensnare you. They keep you trapped in the same cycle of mediocrity, because if everything is perpetually someone else's fault, there's nothing for you to improve upon, right? Wrong. When you cease making excuses and start accepting responsibility, everything shifts. You begin to see where you can enhance your actions. You start learning from your errors instead of fleeing from them. And those around you, they begin to trust you more because they recognize you as someone who won't deflect blame when things go awry. So the next time you feel inclined to blame something or someone else for a mistake, take a moment to pause. Ask yourself, What aspect of this is within my control? You may be surprised to discover how much is. Own your mistakes, and you'll find that people respect you more, not because you're flawless, but because you're genuine. Stoicism teaches that life revolves around focusing on what we can control, and when it comes to accountability, this is one of the most empowering lessons you can adopt. Remember, it's not about being correct all the time. It's about acknowledging when you're wrong and growing from it. That's where true strength is cultivated. This is one of those concepts that appears obvious, yet it's remarkable how frequently people overlook it. We're discussing the fundamentals here: regular showers, brushing your teeth, wearing clean clothes. It seems straightforward, doesn't it? Yet somehow we all know that individual who just doesn't seem to prioritize these essentials. And believe me, it influences how others perceive you. Stoicism emphasizes the significance of self-respect, and honestly, hygiene is one of the simplest methods to demonstrate respect for yourself and others. Let me clarify, hygiene isn't solely about smelling pleasant, though that's certainly a part of it. It's about conveying to the world that you value yourself enough to care for your body. You might assume, well, if I'm a decent person, people will overlook how I look or smell. But here's the harsh reality. People notice when you neglect your hygiene. They begin to question what else you might be neglecting. It may not be fair, but it's the truth. Poor hygiene can signal to others that you're disorganized, unreliable, or even lazy. The Stoics recognize that our external conduct, what we do with our bodies, how we present ourselves, reflects our internal state of mind. Everything is interconnected. Stoicism is about focusing on what lies within our control, and hygiene is one of those aspects we can manage completely. It's the simplest way to demonstrate that you're in charge of your life. Marcus Aurelius discussed the importance of physical cleanliness as a discipline, and he was right. Taking care of your hygiene is a form of discipline. It involves doing what needs to be done, even when you lack the desire to do it. And let's be honest, some days you may not feel inclined to shower or brush your teeth, especially during tough times. However, here's the truth. Caring for your physical body can genuinely help lift you out of a mental slump. When you're feeling down, whether due to burnout, stress, or just an off day, neglecting hygiene might appear to be an easy escape. I've been there too, trudging through difficult times and allowing the basics to slip. What I didn't realize is that disregarding my hygiene was further dragging me down. It became a cycle. The worse I felt, the less I cared for myself, and the less I cared for myself, the worse I felt. It wasn't until a close friend pulled me aside and said, "Hey, are you all right? You seem off lately," that I recognized how far I had let things deteriorate. That was a pivotal moment for me. Stoicism teaches us that looking after ourselves, both mentally and physically, is our obligation. It's not merely about appearing good for others, it's about feeling good within your own skin. When you abandon basic hygiene, it's almost as if you're signaling to yourself, "I'm not worth the effort." That mindset can spiral into deeper issues. Conversely, something as simple as taking a shower or wearing clean clothes can transform your entire mindset. It may seem odd, but when you tend to the small things, it can provide you with the momentum needed to address larger challenges. Hygiene serves as the foundation of self-care. If that foundation is unstable, everything else becomes more difficult. Moreover, good hygiene is a demonstration of self-respect that earns you respect from others. People will recognize if you take care of yourself, even if they don't voice it. It removes one more obstacle to connecting with others. You won't have to fret over whether someone is avoiding sitting next to you or if they're distracted by something else. You're presenting your best self, and that's the essence of Stoicism, striving to be the best version of yourself regardless of external circumstances. if you've been neglecting the basics, consider this your prompt to take a step back and reset. Grab that soap, brush those teeth, wash your hair, not for anyone else, but for yourself. Because when you feel clean and organized, it's as if the rest of life becomes a little more manageable. Remember, hygiene isn't just about looking or smelling good. It's about demonstrating that you value yourself and are prepared to confront the world with confidence and respect. And believe me, those around you will appreciate it as well. I understand that life throws unexpected challenges, and it can be satisfying to vent occasionally. However, here's the reality. There's a fine distinction between healthy venting and falling into the trap of incessant complaining. You know the type. Someone who finds a reason to complain about everything, regardless of how positive things may actually be. It's too hot, it's too cold, the coffee is too weak, the Wi-Fi is too slow. They could be lounging on a beach in paradise and still manage to pinpoint something to grumble about. And if you're sitting there thinking, I don't know anyone like that, you might want to reflect and see if that person is actually you. I've been in that position myself. Complaining is one of those habits that seems harmless at first, but it has a sneaky tendency to bring you down and drag everyone else down with you. Initially, it may seem like you're simply being forthright or releasing pent-up emotions, but when it becomes persistent, it casts you as someone who only perceives the negative. And here's the reality. People begin to distance themselves from negativity. If every time you speak, it's to lament something, even those closest to you will gradually pull away. No one wishes to be around that persistent cloud of negativity. Stoicism instructs us that while we cannot dictate what occurs in our lives, we can choose how we respond. Complaining often becomes our default reaction when circumstances don't align with our desires. However, here's the twist. When you focus solely on the negatives, you train your mind to overlook the positives. Complaining becomes a habit, a mental pattern that traps you in a cycle of negativity. As Epictetus said, we suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgments about them. Each time we complain, we reinforce those negative judgments instead of pursuing solutions or, ideally, accepting what lies beyond our control. The Stoics would argue that when you find yourself in a loop of complaining, you're squandering energy on aspects you cannot change, while missing opportunities to engage with things you can influence. It's a shift in mindset. Instead of fixating on the negatives, you start to focus on how you can address them. And if you can't alter the situation, then let it go. Complaining doesn't resolve anything. It merely amplifies the problem and keeps you trapped. Once I grasped that concept, I made a conscious effort to halt myself whenever I felt the urge to complain. Initially, it wasn't easy, but over time, I noticed a significant transformation, not only in how others reacted to me, but also in how I perceived myself. The truth is, persistent complaining often stems from a sense of powerlessness. It's akin to saying, I'm unable to influence this situation, so I'll just dwell on what's wrong. However, Stoicism reminds us that there's always something we can do, even if it's just adjusting our perspective. Marcus Aurelius frequently wrote about gratitude as a means to counter negative thinking. When you concentrate on what you're thankful for, there's no room left for complaints. It's a practice that requires time, but is ultimately rewarding. Instead of grumbling about a chilly office, I began to think, at least I have a job in a place that's comfortable enough to work. That shift in perspective doesn't change the circumstance, but it alters how you feel about it. And here's the most gratifying aspect. When you stop complaining, people take notice. They feel lighter in your presence. You become the individual who elevates discussions rather than dragging them down. Individuals are drawn to positivity, those who prioritize solutions instead of problems. While complaining may provide a quick release in the moment, It never fosters growth or progress. It merely keeps you mired in negativity. Conversely, when you practice gratitude, even for the smallest of things, life takes on a different, more uplifting tone, and those around you will express their gratitude as well. So, the next time you find yourself on the verge of complaining, whether it's about the weather, your job, or the coffee not being quite right, pause and ask yourself, is this something I can change? And if not, is it worth my energy? Instead of succumbing to the habit of complaining, try identifying one thing, no matter how trivial, to appreciate. It won't just alter how others perceive you, it'll profoundly change how you view yourself. That's the essence of Stoicism, making choices about how we respond, regardless of what life presents us with. This is one of those habits that can creep up on you because it doesn't always seem significant at first. You might think, oh, I'm just 5 minutes late, nobody will notice. However, those 5 minutes accumulate, and before you realize it, you've become the individual who is perpetually late, whether it's for a meeting, a gathering with friends, or even casual get-togethers. People begin to anticipate that you'll never arrive on time, and trust me, that sends a message, one you may not be aware you're conveying. I was once that person. I believed being fashionably late was insignificant. In fact, I thought it added a certain charm, like it introduced an element of mystery. But let's be honest, there's nothing charming about it. When you're frequently tardy, you're essentially communicating, my time holds more value than yours. That's the underlying message, regardless of your intentions. The more I acted this way, the more I came to understand that it wasn't simply a matter of time management, it reflected deeper issues related to my respect for others and even my own anxiety about being fully present. Stoicism underscores the importance of discipline and engagement, which includes punctuality. When you're late, you're not merely disregarding someone else's timetable, you're also wasting the chance to engage fully in life. Marcus Aurelius stressed the importance of treating each moment as invaluable because time is something we can never reclaim. Every time you arrive late, you're not just wasting other people's time, you're also squandering your own. The Stoics emphasized being present and making the most of our time, and arriving late contradicts that principle. Furthermore, being late often stems less from poor time management and more from avoidance. At times, we may be late because we're trying to evade something, perhaps the anxiety of an important meeting or reluctance to confront a challenging conversation. I realized that I was using lateness as a buffer. By arriving late, I could avoid being the first person there, fully present and engaged. It was a method of shielding myself from uncomfortable situations. However, here's the crux. Stoicism encourages us to confront life directly. Avoiding discomfort doesn't eliminate it. It merely postpones the inevitable. Arriving late often signifies avoidance of the reality before you. The Stoics maintain that living virtuously entails taking responsibility for your actions, and being late is entirely within your control. It's about honoring your commitments and respecting others by valuing their time. When you strive to be punctual, you're signaling to the world, I value your time and I value mine as well. It's a minor action that can yield a substantial effect on how people perceive you. You become someone reliable, trustworthy, and fully engaged. I had to implement significant changes in my own life to overcome the habit of tardiness. I began setting my alarms earlier, planning my day more meticulously, and most crucially, I altered my mindset. Instead of thinking, I can afford to be 5 minutes late, I started to think, I want to honor this commitment by arriving fully and on time. Let me tell you, it made a remarkable difference. Not only did others notice, but I also felt better. I wasn't rushing in at the last minute, flustered and anxious. I was calm, prepared, and ready to engage with whatever was happening. So, if you're someone who is consistently late, it's time for a change, not just for the benefit of others, but for your own sake. Start by being honest with yourself about the reasons behind your tardiness. Are you avoiding something? Are you failing to prioritize your time? Once you confront the underlying reasons, you can begin to make the necessary adjustments. Set alarms earlier, leave your home 10 minutes before you think you need to, and practice the Stoic principle of engaging with life as it unfolds. The more you adopt this practice, the more respect you will earn from others and from yourself. Because here's the reality. Punctuality isn't solely about respecting others. It's about showing that you value your own time and the moments you have. This is a challenging habit to break because honestly, it feels secure when things go awry. It's easy to slip into the mindset of, "Why does this always happen to me?" Or, "It's not my fault, it's merely bad luck." Embracing the belief that the universe is conspiring against you can be comforting, as if you're the protagonist in a tragic narrative that keeps unfolding in the worst possible way. However, here's the truth. Adopting a victim mentality isn't just exhausting for those around you, it's also draining for yourself. More importantly, it's a trap. It keeps you ensnared in a cycle with no way out. When you play the victim, you relinquish your power. You cede control of your life to circumstances, to other individuals, to things beyond your influence. It may feel comfortable in the moment, but it's also a form of self-sabotage. In contrast, Stoicism teaches the exact opposite. The Stoics assert that while we cannot dictate everything that transpires in our lives, we can always influence how we respond. Epictetus stated, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." That is the crux. When you adopt a victim mindset, you respond to life as if you have no control over what follows. Yet the reality is that you possess more control than you might realize. Life will invariably throw surprises your way. That's unavoidable. What truly matters is how you choose to navigate these situations. Will you sit back and lament, "This is simply my unlucky fate," or will you inquire, "What can I learn from this? How can I grow?" Playing the victim often arises from fear of failure, fear of inadequacy, fear of taking responsibility for your mistakes. It's easier to declare, "This isn't my fault," than to confront the mirror and ask, "What could I have done differently?" Trust me, I understand how challenging this can be. There was a period when I struggled to acknowledge that some of my issues were of my own making. It was simpler to blame external circumstances, other individuals, or sheer bad luck. However, the moment I stopped doing that was when everything began to shift. When I accepted ownership of my role in various situations, both positive and negative, I realized I held the power to alter my life. Here's the catch. Adopting a victim mentality doesn't only harm you, it also negatively impacts those around you. It's draining. No one desires to be in the presence of someone who constantly adopts a poor me attitude. It's akin to a dark cloud that follows you wherever you go. After a while, people start to distance themselves. They might initially feel sympathy for you, but that sentiment eventually transforms into frustration. Why? Because deep down, people recognize your capacity to take charge, and witnessing you fail to do so is exasperating. They see the potential within you that you're not tapping into. And here's something the Stoics would emphasize. When you play the victim, you're missing out on a remarkable opportunity for personal growth. Marcus Aurelius continually reminded himself that life's challenges were, in fact, opportunities to practice virtue. Instead of perceiving setbacks as personal affronts, he viewed them as avenues to fortify his character. What if, instead of asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" you asked, "How can this make me stronger?" That shift in perspective can redefine everything. Suddenly, life isn't happening to you. It's happening for you. Every challenge becomes a chance to evolve into a better version of yourself. The Stoic approach is both straightforward and impactful. Take ownership of your life. When you cease playing the victim, you begin to take responsibility for what unfolds next. It's not about assigning blame to yourself for every misfortune. It's about acknowledging that you always possess a choice in how you respond. That's where your true power resides. When you stop waiting for the world to change and instead commit to changing yourself, incredible transformations can occur. You'll find yourself feeling less as though life is happening to you and more as if you're in control of your own fate. So, the next time you catch yourself slipping into a victim mentality, pause. Ask yourself, am I genuinely powerless in this situation, or am I simply afraid to take charge? Shift your mindset from, why is this happening to me, to, what can I do about this? When you abandon the victim role, you step into a position of strength. You reclaim your power. Challenges will still arise. That's a given. But instead of being overwhelmed by them, you'll stand taller, prepared to confront whatever comes your way. That's the essence of Stoicism, and that's the essence of embracing your life. Remember, life doesn't merely happen to you, it unfolds for you. Every challenge, every setback, and every bad habit you break presents an opportunity to grow, to strengthen, and to live with intention. You hold the power to take charge of your life, to transcend these habits, and to become the best version of yourself. If you found this video beneficial, be sure to check out one of the suggested videos on your screen for more insights to guide you on your journey. Thank you for being part of Stoicism Marcus Aurelius, where we aspire for progress instead of perfection. Stay resilient, and I'll see you next time.